Hey guys, so today I wanted to share my thought process when I start a mix and some basic guidelines on how to get good at mixing. So the first thing is to figure out in the song what is the priority in the main elements of the song. So take for example pop, the main elements and the priority is the vocals. The vocal is always going to be the priority, and then everything else kind of works around the vocal. If you got club music like house music, the priority is the kick drum and the low end because that's what gets the people dancing on the dance floor, and then everything else is just little elements that will help build the song's character and create more energy. If you got trap, you got the 808s and the claps that are the main elements, plus if it's like rap on top of it, then you got the vocals as well. So that's kind of the idea, is you want to find those main elements that gets the track really noticed and bring those out the most, and spend most of your time in the mixing process getting those sounding good, and then work around those elements. So the first thing you want to do, so since it's a house track, right, you want to prioritize the kick drum. And the other thing is you want to, with mixing, is you want to use the kick drum as like an anchor, in a sense that the kick drum's level doesn't move and you work the volume around the kick drum. And so what I like to do is have my kick drum usually peaking around -10. This track I cheated. I had it -6, which isn't good, but but this is why I cheated, is I used the utility and just turned down the gain. But I still would want the kick drum to be peaking around there and then mix around the kick. But this is a mix that I recently, well, the song's not done yet, but the mix is relatively done. We're gonna keep adding more elements, probably change some of the elements, but me and my friend Phantom Freak, we were working on this song. We got tied up with our busy lives, and we're gonna finish it hopefully this week or next. But yeah, so I'll show you what the rough mix was. This was in the production process, and then since we had like a week or two away from each other, I decided just to mix it, and hopefully that would spark new ideas, or at least give us a better idea of what it's going to sound like, and then fix anything else we wanted, or just keep it how it is. So here's the rough mix, and what I'll do is A/B back and forth. So when the solo is on, it'll be the reference, the rough mix, and this will be the mix that I have now. You want it?
Yeah,
I got it. You got it?
yeah,
I want it. You want it?
yeah,
I got it. You got it?
yeah,
I want it. You want it?
yeah,
I got it. You got it?
yeah,
I want it. You want it?
yeah,
I got it. You got it?
yeah.
I want it. So notice the mids and highs, how they open up in the current version compared to the reference. Here's the reference again. And also notice the low end's a bit tighter, in a sense that's just balanced better. I also had to do a little bit of side chaining to, like I was saying, prioritize the kick drum and prioritize this tom right here. I wanted the kick and tom to be the priority in the low end, and everything else work around those. So these had a little bit of side chaining on it. This had a side chain on the kick drum, just a little bit. And then this was a multi-band sidechain compression, where I only sidechained the low end like a lot, and only kept the mids and highs. And this is on the tom. This actually is on the kick drum. So it's to work around. Yeah, you can't even hear it that well, but it's definitely sidechaining around. Which is a good thing. You don't want to be able to hear it too much. So the idea now with this track, as you've heard it, the priority that kick and tom groove with the snare and the bass line and all the melody kind of just, it's mainly just the kick, tom, and snare you really want to be hitting hard. Everything else you want to be sounding good, but it's not the priority, right? So I started with the kick. And when I first heard the kick, I'll show you what it was when I first heard it. It didn't have this, which I'll explain in a second. It didn't have this. So here's what it was like. And then with the two elements. So what I did was, it's subtle, but I added a parallel compressor. This by by Slate. It's called the stressor, and this is pretty much the stressor compressor that you see in a lot of studios. This is like the best for drums and really good just punch. So this is full mix parallel beast preset, and I have this as a parallel into my kick, or actually my whole low end. So it's actually hitting all my everything, all my bass. So this whole group right here, the orange, and then also the low, which I don't have anything there, so I probably should delete that, but I'll do that eventually. So, and then this is also on the whole group. This is just saturation. This is by Slate as well, and this is pretty much emulating a console. These are SSL consoles. The USA, I'm not sure what kind of console it is. It could be SSL, but I don't think it is. But I found the USA setting is really good for low end, and I'll show you the difference. Right? So I find the USA gives just more of a warm tone, which I like in the bass end for the warmness. So yeah, I did that with the kick. The tom I felt was a little too loud and had too much sub in it. So I'll show you what this version was. The reference. This is the old version. You want it?
Yeah.
I got it. You got it. And this is what it sounds like here. I'll show you without the filter. With it. So you notice it almost feels brighter. But I'm just filtering out, which is interesting with EQ, is a lot of times taking out the bad just brings up the good a lot better than it is to just try to enhance the good parts. So especially with low end, it's better to take out than it is to add with EQ and filtering in general. So yeah, that's what I did with that. So once I got this priority, all this, so I'll just play the low end, right? Wait, I didn't have it soloed. After that I brought in the snares. So once those get sounding good, right, then you can kind of work around those elements. And with the claps I did, if you saw my old videos, saturation limiting to add thickness and also control the peak. So here's without it on, and then with it. And I'm also adding more saturation after that with the Sound Toys Devil Lock. This is my favorite for parallel saturation. It adds a lot of crunch to the mix, and I use it a lot in my snares, a lot of my vocals, and my lead synths, because it brightens up that high end a lot, and like just a nice crunch to it. And with parallel, it's easy to control. And I also have it mixed pretty low on the, let me see, where is it? I think it's at negative 18 dB. So it's pretty quiet and it's subtle, but you can make it not subtle. So yeah, and then also the distressor again for parallel compression. So yeah, once I got those knocking, then I brought in the vocals because those are the next priority. So I'll control solo this so I can add it to the solo groups already. I think on Mac it's command, or Apple I mean. You want it?
Yeah,
I got it. You got it?
yeah,
I want it. You want it?
yeah,
I got it. You got it?
yeah.
I want it. You want it? So with the vocals, we did a lot of the processing in the production project. We did this on Splice, and so we didn't really mix it down quite like we wanted because we weren't using plugins, because he doesn't have all the plugins I use, and I don't have all the ones he uses. So it's better just to use stock plugins until you're ready to mix it down and then bring it into one of the sessions. So this one, what I had done with it was I used the CLA, the Wave CLA vocal stereo, and this is just like the magic button. And then I use this preset every time, pretty much, the Rockman Dry, and it will just like boost it like crazy. But it's like the magic mix button. I don't want to add it to this because it won't sound like it does now. But you hear my voice now. This is what it was. You want it? And then we changed it to that. I got it. So after we got all those, then I start bringing in the percussion. So from there, it's just a matter of working around those elements, peeking in these elements right here, right? And a lot of these had sidechain on them before. In the mixing process or in the production process, which is why I don't have a lot of stuff added on. But at the same time, you don't need to be cleaning up every little thing. Like for example, this exhaust. The only thing you should really be adding is like filtering. This I actually took out some of the mids, like the mono, because they were clashing a little too much with the vocal in the build-up. Actually, not in the build-up. Why did I do that? Maybe it was, I don't know. I can't remember. Without it. Yeah. I just felt I want to be wider and not so much in the middle. So yeah, that's like, with these, you want to touch just a little bit, unless it's really bad. But these aren't the priority. These don't have to sound perfect. All these little white noise effects. Like, they just have to sound pretty good. But the priority and the time all the time you should be spending on is this basic groove. Getting that flawless. And once that's flawless, working around it's so much easier. It's the same with rock. If you want to mix rock, get your drums sounding really good, get your guitar sounding really good, and your bass to be matching well with your drums, everything will work. Some people like to put the vocals in first on rock, but for me, that's how I mix my rock, is I always start with the drums, because that's what the energy of the song is, and that's kind of the tone of everything. So yeah, that's the basics of mixing. I wouldn't worry too much about the mix bus right now, especially when it comes to like compression on the master. That can get ugly really fast. So my advice is, if you're new to mixing, just keep the master bus really empty. If you have Slate, put in the mix bus here. That's fine. But all these other plugins, I wouldn't worry about until you're more you have an understanding of how to compress. And learning how to compress takes honestly a few years to get good at. Like, it's about training the ear, and all this does. But like, you just have to keep working at it, and it's better to do too little than too much with a lot of these things. So yeah, those are some of my tips to be able to tackle a solid mix. Thanks, guys. If you like this video, hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you're interested in taking your music to the next level, I offer other services like mixing and mastering and song critique. So check out my website to learn more about those services. Follow me on social media to keep up to date with what I'm doing. And I'll see you next time.